In this video, you are going to learn how to mix any color from a limited palette of 5 colors. These 5 colors are the titanium white, burnt umber, lemon yellow, permanent red, and ultramarine blue. So at first, we'll see a little bit of theory to better understand each other with the vocabulary of the color. Then we'll see how to mix the primary color and the importance of the complementary colors. And then we'll see how to mix every color from this limited palette of 5 colors. So let's get started. In this part, we are going to learn a little bit of the vocabulary of the color theory. There exist many words about color theory, but I'm going to share with you only the ones that I feel are necessary to follow this course and these tutorials. So the first one I want to introduce you to is the word value. The value is when we talk about a color to know if it's light or if it's dark. The value is just about knowing if a color is light or dark. So if I tell you that this color has a strong value, that means that it is very dark. Or if this value or I can tell that this color has a light value, so it's just a light color. And a color like the red, for example, can have several values. There exist some reds that are very light, some reds that are very dark, and some reds that are medium, so their value is not dark or not very light. So that's the word value. And when we are creating a portrait, for example, we will need several value of beige because this is what will help us to create some volume. So that's why the word value is very useful, and you will hear me say it many times during this course, probably thousands of times during all these tutorials. The second word I wanted to talk to you about is the word saturation. The saturation means if a color is intense or not intense. When you think about some colors, like the green for example, there exists some green that are very intense, and so they are very saturated. And on the contrary, there are some green that are not intense at all, and so you can say that they are desaturated. And the words I can also use to talk about this color is that this green is intense and this one is dull. And these are the words that I will say also a lot. Something intense, something not intense. So that was our second word that was important. Now we are going to talk about the primary colors. And there are 3 primary colors. There is the blue, the red, and the yellow. And from these 3 colors we can create thousands, countless of colors. And when you mix these colors together, you get the secondary colors. For example, when I mix the blue with the yellow, I get the green. When I mix the yellow with the red, I get the orange. And when I mix the red with the blue, I get the purple. And so purple, orange, and green are our secondary colors. And when I mix the secondary colors with the primary colors, I get the tertiary colors. So for instance, when I mix the yellow with the orange, I get a yellow-orange color, something that is not too yellow, not too orange, that is in between these 2 colors. And when I mix the purple with the red, I get some kind of red-purple color, something that is not too red and not too purple. So that was these new words: primary colors, secondary, and tertiary colors. And finally, the last word I wanted to talk to you about is the complementary colors. You can also say that these colors are opposite colors. And to get the opposite colors, that's very simple. You have to think like this. When I mix the yellow with the blue, I get the green. So when I want some green, I don't need red. And therefore, red and green are opposite. When I mix the yellow with the red, I get the orange. And so you may guess what is the complementary color of orange? That's the blue. So blue and orange are opposite. And when I mix the blue with the red, I get the purple. I don't need yellow, so the yellow is the opposite color of purple. So these are our 3 couples of complementary colors. And the complementary colors will be very important and very useful. We will use them to make our color less intense or to create some brown. For example, let's say I have some red on my palette I like it, but I think it is too intense. I want to make it less saturated, so I will use its opposite color, which is the green. I will add a little bit of green to my color, and this way my color will become less intense, less saturated. And we will see that in much more details. And that's it for the vocabulary part. Only these words I think are necessary so we understand each other and so you can master the color mixing. There exist many other words, but I think that they are not very useful for our course. And so that concludes our part on the vocabulary. Now let's see what happens when we mix the primary colors on our palette and what new colors we are creating. So this is my palette with the three primary colors, and from these three primary colors, yellow, red and blue, we're going to be creating the secondary colors and the tertiary colors. So let's create our first secondary color. So if I take some yellow and I mix it with the red color, then I get some orange. Now let's create some green colors. So I'm taking some ultramarine blue and some yellow, and then I will get the green. You will see that I don't use a lot of ultramarine blue in comparison with the yellow to get a normal green that is not too yellow, not too blue, an intermediate green. Then I will use more yellow than ultramarine blue. The reason for that is that the ultramarine blue is a strong color, and what I mean by this is that if I mix the same amount of yellow and ultramarine blue, then my color will be more blue-green than a green. It will be more blue, and that's why when I use some ultramarine blue, I just use a little bit of it and adjust after if necessary, because if I use too much ultramarine blue, then my color will get too blue very fast. And if I make some red with the blue, I will get the purple, and we'll have our three secondary colors, the purple, orange and green. And from these primary and secondary colors, I can mix the tertiary colors. That is to say that, for instance, if I mix some red with the purple, I will get a purple red. That is to say, a purple that is close to the red color. And I can do the same thing with the blue and get a purple blue color. And I will do this with all the colors on my palette, you will see, and therefore I will get the chromatic circle with all these primary, secondary and tertiary colors. And this won't be the only colors that we'll be able to create. Of course, we'll be able to create some lighter ones or darker ones with a limited palette by adding some white or burnt umber, for instance, but you will see that it's not the only way to darken or lighten a color. We will be able to create as well some colors that won't be as intense as this one, because it's actually pretty rare to have to use some colors that are as pure, as bright and intense as these ones. Most of the time you have to make them a little bit less intense, and that's why we'll use our complementary color, and that's what we are about to see. In this video, we are going to see what happens when we use the complementary colors or the opposite colors. And the interest of these complementary colors is double. We will use the complementary colors for creating the brown colors, or also for making our color less intense. And so that's what we are going to see in more details in this video. Now let's see the complementary colors and what we can do with them. So on my palette I mixed some yellow and red and got some orange and I didn't need the blue. Therefore the orange is the opposite of the blue, and you can see that they face each other on my palette, by the way. To make some purple, I needed some red and blue and didn't need the yellow color. Therefore, the yellow and the purple are the opposite color, are complementary. And so, you guessed it, the red is the complementary color of the green color. Now I'm going to remix some green color on my palette, and we'll see what happens when we mix these complementary colors together. So I have my green color, and now I'm going to take a little bit of this green color and I will add to it some red color, and we'll see what happens.
So I take just a little bit, and instantly when I had this red color to my green, we can see that the green we had at first was bright, very intense, and right now is getting pretty less intense. Yes, very less intense and not bright at all. And the more red I will add, the more my color will become less intense. And we can see that this green color is getting kind of brown green color, and this is how we create our brown colors. And it can work the other way. That is to say, if I take some red color and add to it some green, then my red color will become less and less intense, and the more green I will add to my color, the more this red color will get towards the brown color, a red-brown color. And with my limited palette, since I don't have some green, I have some yellow and blue on my palette. I take a little bit of yellow, a little bit of blue, and I mix them together to get my green directly when I mix it with the red color. And so that's how I get these brown colors, and we can do it the same way with the other colors as well. So I have recreated this orange color on my palette, and we'll see how this orange color goes when we add some ultramarine blue to it. So I'll take just a little bit of the ultramarine blue, because remember, it is a color that is pretty strong. Just a little bit of this blue color and my color, and my color will get very much blue. So I added just a little bit of blue to this orange color, and you can see that it gets very less intense with this little blue color and goes toward a brown orange color. And that's how you realize that brown colors, actually there are just some colors that have lost a lot of their intensity. And with this color, this orange-brown color that I got, I will be able afterwards with my limited palette to darken it if necessary with some burnt umber, for instance, or with some other colors as well. It can work. And I can also lighten it, and for instance, if I darken this orange-brown color that I have, I will get a dark brown color that we can see on many cases with some brown skin tones, with the painting of a tree, for instance. So you can have these colors in many different paintings. And well, this blue color, I can also make it less intense, but I will need a lot of orange color, because like I said before, this blue color, this ultramarine blue color is pretty dark and also a pretty strong color, and so that means that I will need a lot of orange color to make it less intense. But you can see that my blue color right now is getting less and less intense and getting closer to some kind of blue-brown color that yes, is pretty special. And finally, I can do the exact same thing with the yellow colors, so I can directly add some purple to it to make it less intense, or I can do it in the way I do it with my limited palette by adding just some red and some blue to it. So right now I can see that I added not enough red in proportion, and so I will add a little bit more of it, and therefore I will get a yellow brown color, a yellow that is very less intense. And I can do it on the other way, that is to say adding some yellow to my purple, and I will get a yellow brown color. And so that's how you make your color intense, and with every painting you will have some color that will be less intense, and you create some browns as well. If you are enjoying this video, there are dozens more like it waiting for you on my website. You will find complete real-time painting courses where I show every step, step by step. We explore all the major themes: portraits, the human bodies, landscapes, animals and their textures, and detailed still life. Each demonstration is explained from start to finish, so you can follow along easily and progress at your own pace. You will learn to master color mixing, play with light and bring more life to your paintings. So if you want to go further, click on the link in the description and discover all the painting courses. Otherwise, let's get back to this video. Now let's see how to mix any color with a limited palette of 5 colors. So as a reminder, the 5 colors I'm going to use are the titanium white, lemon yellow, permanent red, ultramarine blue and burnt umber. With these 5 colors I can get 95% of all the colors I need for my paintings. I can't mix the very intense colors. For instance, a blue sky that is really intense, a turquoise water, or for instance the magenta on the hummingbird, for instance. These colors are very intense and I can't mix them with this limited palette of 5 colors. But for most of the other colors, that's just fine with these 5 colors. So the first step when I want to mix a color is identifying the colors. What color is this? I know it might sound a little bit silly, a little bit stupid to ask yourself this question, because we know sometimes it's a yellow, it's a red or blue, but there are some colors that are a little bit more tricky, some kind of browns, of gray, and you have to wonder, this brown, towards which color is it closer? Which one of the primary or secondary colors? Is this a brown color that is close to the orange or closer to the red, for example? Is this a gray color that leans a little bit more towards the blue, or is it a little bit more leaning toward the green, for instance? And so identifying the color that you want to mix is the first step towards before mixing the color that you want. And for that purpose, to identify the colors properly, you have a really great tool that is a chromatic circle that is really detailed, so you can identify much more easily the color that you want to mix. So once you have identified the color, you can start mixing it. And so I'm going to explain to you the theory, how I mix the color, and then I will show you with the demonstrations how to apply this theory. So the theory is the following. So the first thing I do is really to compare the color I have on my palette with the color I want to mix. That's really obvious, but I do that all the time. And then I ask myself 7 questions. These questions are the following ones. Is my color too red or not red enough when I compare it to the color I want to mix? So I look at my color, and if my color is not red enough, if I feel that the color I want to mix leans a little bit more toward the red, then I add a little bit of red. However, if I realize that the color I am currently mixing on my palette is too red, is too intense with the red color in comparison to the one I want to mix, then I'm going to lower the intensity of this color that I have on my palette by adding the complementary color of the red, which is the green, if you remember. And so I do that with all the secondary and primary colors. Is my color too blue or not blue enough? Is it too yellow or not yellow enough? Too purple or not purple enough? Too orange or not orange enough? Too green or not green enough? And then I adjust. And the last question I ask myself is my color too dark or is it too light? And with these 7 questions, I can reach the color that I want to mix and get the right mix on my palette. And so each time I compare and ask myself these questions. So for instance, let's say I have the color on my palette and I realize that the color on my palette was too blue, too intense with the blue color. So I am adjusting it a little bit and add the opposite color, which is the orange. Then I compare my color on my palette after I have made these adjustments, and again I repeat the cycle and ask myself the 7 questions. And maybe by adding some orange, I added a little bit too much of the yellow. And so when I look at my color right now, I feel like my color has become a little bit too green, and it leans actually a little bit more, let's say, towards the red. So I'm going to add a little bit of red to it. And then I ask myself the 7 questions again, and I realize that my color has become a little too dark. So I add a little bit of white to lighten it a little bit. And then I again ask myself the 7 questions again and again until I am satisfied with the colors that I mix. And at first it may seem a little bit unusual, not very natural, to ask
ask yourself these 7 questions. And at first I did it out loud. And at the beginning, when I started mixing color, took me like 3 or 4 minutes to get a color that I wanted. But now it's really much faster. And for some colors, it may take like 10 to 20 seconds to get the right colors that I wanted to mix. And I don't even ask myself these questions anymore because I do it without realizing it. When I have my color, I'm like, okay, my color I see right here, okay, it's not orange enough. So I'm adding a little bit of orange. Now, okay, I see that it has too purple in it. It's too intense with the purple color. So I'm adding a little bit of yellow in it. And so it has become very natural, and the more you will do it, the more it will feel very natural for you as well, and you will be able to mix any color that you actually want. So I strongly encourage you to watch the demonstration that will follow. Maybe at first watch it once without practicing so you can really understand the logic even better of this method. And then once you have watched it the first time, maybe watch it a second time, but this time you have to mix the colors because this is how you will make some progress with your with the color mixing. So practice the same colors as I do, watch a second time with me and practice along with me so you can understand even better the method. And finally, keep in mind that even if you didn't follow my advices and you have more than 5 colors, maybe let's say you have 20, 30 painting tubes, there will be a moment where you will have to mix a color that you don't have on your palette. So that's why this method is really important, and why it is really important that you learn how to mix the colors, because the realism in your painting, it partly comes from the color mixing, and it's really important to have the right colors and the right mix on your palette. So now enough theory, and let's see how to mix the colors right now. So this is our chromatic wheel, and let's see it a little bit more in depth. So it's really easy. You have the 6 primary and secondary colors: blue, red, yellow, green, orange, and the purple one, and different values of each of these colors. Some very light values that are really close to the center, which is the white, and some darker one that are closer than to the black color. So really that's basically it for this chromatic circle, and now we will use it to identify correctly our colors before mixing them together. So this is the first color that we are going to try to mix together. So I have chosen 2 colors, and I tried to choose some colors that aren't very easy to well, identify or to mix, because well, it is better to exercise ourselves with something a little bit more difficult. So I'm going to try to identify it at first on the chromatic circle, and at the first glance I can definitely tell that these colors isn't close to the green, to the yellow, to the orange, purple color. It is well, I think it is quite close to the blue colors, so we are going to look in depth in these colors at first. And so now if I take a look at the different blues of the chromatic circle, I can definitely tell that our color is pretty light, so it won't be part of the darkest one. And also our color is not very intense. It is some kind of a blue that goes near the gray. And so basically when you think about the gray, it is some kind of a blue color that is not very intense. And so in my mind, the colors that are the closest to the ones that we want to reach are these ones. And so we are going to go towards these ones at first. And yes, so now that we have identified our color, I think that we are ready to mix it. So now that we have identified our color, we can tell that the color that we can use to start is the blue one. So I use a little bit of blue, and I ask myself the 7 questions. And the first thing that I can notice is that my color is too dark, so I'm going to lighten it a little bit with some white.
Now if I compare my color with the one that I am trying to mix, I can definitely tell that my color is still way too dark, so I'm going to add a little bit of the white color in it to make it lighter again. When I was on my palette mixing this blue color, well, right now it was difficult for me to identify the value and to compare it to know if my color was too light or not light enough. So I asked myself the 7 questions once again, and I noticed that my color, my blue color, was too intense. My color right now was with a blue that was too intense, so my color was too blue, and so I had to make it less blue and less intense, and to do so I had to add a little bit of its opposite color, which is the orange. So that's why I added a little bit of the yellow and a little bit of red to my blue color to make it less intense. What I do notice right now is that my color is less intense, so this is great, but it is also too dark. Now I can really see that it is too dark, so I have to lighten it a little bit. So I am adding some white to it, quite a lot, because I am mixing a lot of painting, so I have a great amount of painting on my palette, but most of the time I try to do it very step by step and just add a little bit of the color. But since now I have mixed a lot of color, I can do such things. So now my color is getting lighter and it's better. So now we are getting really close to our color, and so I am asking myself these 7 questions once again. Is it too light or not light enough? Too blue, not blue enough? Too red, not red enough? Too yellow, not yellow enough? Etc, etc. And what I notice is that my color has become not blue enough when I added some yellow and red to it. I make it not intense enough. And I also noticed that my color tends to go a little bit toward the green color, because when I added some orange to it, I may have added a little bit too yellow in it. And so since it is too green, I will also add a little bit of the red color in my mixture, because the green color is the opposite one of the green. So now we are getting good. Well, I like how the color looks, but when I ask myself the 7 questions once again, what I can really notice right now is that my color is too dark once again. So what I'm going to do now is that I am going to take a little bit of the white color and mix some with just one part of my mixture, because I have mixed quite a lot of color. Now my mixture is pretty big, and well, if I don't want to waste a lot of the white color, so I'm going to mix just a little bit of white with some of my mixture, like I am doing right now. We are getting really close to this color, and when I compare them together, I can see that once again my color is a little bit too dark, so I am adding a little bit more white to it, and also it is not blue enough. This blue color is not as intense as it should be, so I am adding just a little bit of blue color to it to get closer to this color we are mixing now. Now we are getting really close. I think that we need just a little bit of the white color and it will be good. And so now here we are, we have finished to mix this color. When you can tell really the difference between the two colors, well, I think that's okay, and that your color is good. So here we are with a new color, some kind of a brown color to mix. Brown colors are a little bit more difficult, so the first step once again will be to identify this color on the chromatic circle and try to, well, locate which one is the closest to it to mix it afterwards. On this chromatic circle, if I look at the brown colors, I'd say that they go like from the green colors to the red ones. So, well, I'm going to try to look in this area at first to identify my color. And so if I look deeply at this color and compare it to the other ones on the chromatic circle, I think that this brown color tends to go a little bit towards the orange-green color. Well, it's not easy, but I think that there are two colors that stand out on this chromatic circle and that are the closest one to the one that we want to mix. So these are the two ones that are the closest one. And since I don't really know which color is the closest from this one that we want to try to mix, when I don't really know, what I do at first is that I use a little bit of the three primary colors, mix them together, and then I will adjust my colors to get the one I want. So here we are with this new color. So like I said, I'm going to use a little bit of my three primary colors, yellow, red and blue. So I'll use the same amount of yellow and red, but not the same amount of blue, because the blue color is a color that is very powerful. That is to say that if I had the same amount of blue color and of the other ones, this color will tend to go more towards the blue. So that's why I had just a little bit of blue color to my mixture. So now that we have our color, I'm going to ask myself the 7 questions that I mentioned before. And so what I can notice thanks to these 7 questions is that my color is too light, and also, my color is not light enough, it's too dark, and also my color is too red. So since it is too dark, well, I'm going to add a little bit of white to it. And since my color is too red, I'm going to add the opposite color of the red, which is the green. So I am adding a little bit of yellow and of blue. I will mix my color and see what I get. So what I see now is that my color is still a little bit too dark, so I'm going to add some white to it. And I can also see that it is still too red and red-orange colors. So now at first I'm going to add more blue to it to make it more, to make it less orange, less red-orange. So now I can definitely tell that my color isn't too red or too orange thanks to this blue. But what I notice when I ask myself these 7 questions now is that my color tends to be too purple now, and also that the color that I want is more yellow. So since I wanted to make it less purple, I need some yellow because it is the opposite color of the purple. And since I wanted to make it more yellow, well, I need some yellow. So that's perfect. I'm going to add some yellow to it and see how it gets with it. I can see that thanks to this yellow color, I'm getting really closer to this brown color, but my color is still too dark, so I'm going to add a little bit of white to it. Now, once again, I am comparing my color with the one that I want to mix, and what I can notice is that my color, once again, is not yellow enough, even though we got closer thanks to this yellow we had it before, but still it's not yellow enough right now, so I am adding a little bit more yellow to my color. So once again, I think that my color is a little bit too dark, so I am adding a little bit of white to it, but like I did with the blue-gray color that we mixed before, I am only mixing just a little part of my color to not use too much of my colors on my palette. And also I can notice that the color that I want is a little bit goes a little bit towards the green, so I am adding a little bit of yellow and blue to my color to make it look a little bit more green, and I think that this is making a difference and that we are really getting closer to the color that we want to reach. And I think that now we are really getting closer to this brown color that we try to make. So I am still adding a little bit more yellow and white to it because I think that the reference color is more yellow, and also it is lighter. So that's the reason why I am adding a little bit of these two colors. I am now adding a little bit of the burnt umber color because I may have lightened a little bit too much my color. So thanks to this color I will be able to darken it a little bit, and I think that we are now okay. We have reached the color that we wanted. So yes, it was a little bit complex to get these colors, but these ones are really the complex ones in my mind to get. But you will see that the more you practice, the quicker you will be. Personally, at first it took me quite a lot of time to get the perfect color, but now when I paint an artwork, it may to get this color, it might take me something like 1 or 2 minutes. I take my time right now to make sure that you understand how I do it, but now it is really quick for me to get these paintings right. If you are enjoying this video, there are dozens more like it waiting for you on my website. You will find complete real-time painting courses where I show every step by step. We explore all the major themes: portraits, the human bodies, landscapes, animals and their textures, and detailed still life. Each demonstration is explained from start to finish, so you can follow along easily and progress at your own pace. You will learn to master color mixing, play with light and bring more life to your paintings. So if you want to go further, click on the link in the description and discover all the painting courses. Otherwise, let's get back to this video. In this video, I'm going to show you how to lighten or darken a color. Because when you think about lightening or darkening of colors, when you were at school, maybe you heard the same thing that I heard. If you want to lighten a color, use white. If you want to darken a color, use black. But that's not it. We can't use only these two colors to darken or lighten our colors. If we only use these two colors, well, we won't be able to get the color that we actually want. So I'm going to show you how to exactly lighten or darken the colors, and you will see that there exist many other ways. Let's get started. So I have these three colors on my palette, and we are going to see how to lighten or to darken each one of them. So I'm going to start with this green color. That is some green that is pretty intense, and the first thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to lighten it. And so if I want to lighten it, I can use some white because the white will always lighten my color. So first thing I do, I apply some white to my color. And so I apply this white to my color, it gets lighter and it gets also less intense. And when I mix some white with my color, it lightens it, and it's also going to make it less intense, less saturated. So that's something that it's important to know. And now I wonder, so how could I lighten my color? With some ultramarine blue? No, it's way too dark. Burnt umber is the same. I can try with some red and see how it goes. So if I look at my color, now that I have applied some red and I compare before and after, I can see that now it is a little bit darker. So let's give a try now with the yellow color. So I can see that with this yellow color, it's getting lighter. So I can lighten my color, this green, with some white and yellow. And it's really up to me to lighten in the direction I want to give to my color. Do I want to make it more yellow-green or just lighter, less saturated with some white? So it's up to me to choose the color I want to lighten it. And when I lighten with some white, I can also make this green more blue as it gets lighter. So I'm adding some white and also adding some blue, and therefore my color is getting lighter and going much more towards the green-blue color. And so I have three colors to darken this green. I can use some red, burnt umber, and ultramarine blue. But the three greens that I will get darker won't be the same ones with these three colors. I will have three different greens, three darker greens, but three different ones. And so it's really up to me to wonder how I want my colors to be when I will darken it. Let's see the next colors. So if I compare the value of the colors on my palette with it, I can see that there's only one color that is lighter, that is the white. So only the white color will help me to lighten this color. The four others, it will darken it. And so I can darken it in four different manners. For instance, I can darken it with some red, and when I will mix some red to it, then I will have something darker, and that will be more pink, more red. And so this yellow color, I can also use it to darken my color, and as I use it, it will go a little bit more towards the orange, as there was already a little bit of red in my color. And I can also darken my color with some blue, and my color will get purple, as there was already some red in it, and red plus blue makes purple. And finally, the burnt umber will also help me to create something darker, and with this color, my color will be still a little bit neutral as it will get darker. So several ways to darken my color: some red, some yellow that makes something orange, some purple, some burnt umber to have something neutral, and that's all up to me and to what colors I want to get as it gets darker. And I can also darken my color by adding two colors. If I had some yellow and some red to it, because it makes it darker, then my color will get darker and will get more orange. It will get darker because there will be less white in the proportion of this mixture on my palette. And I can do the same thing with more ultramarine blue and more red to have something more purple. I can also do it with more, I don't know, burnt umber and yellow, and I will have something even different. Always when I get my color darker, or when I create something lighter, I ask myself the questions: how do I want my color? More yellow, more red, more blue, or more green, more purple, more orange? And this way it makes it easier for me to know what colors I should add to my mixture to make it darker or lighter. And finally, this last color. So how can I lighten it? Well, with some white, of course, but not only white. When I compare the value, I can see that my red color is lighter than this purple. And so if I add some red to my mixture, then this color will get lighter and it also be more red. And I can also lighten it with the yellow, because the yellow in this case is lighter than this purple. And so right here, the yellow color is the opposite of the purple. So if I wanted my purple to be less intense and lighter, then the yellow color is the right one. If I wanted my color to get lighter and get more red, then the red color was the right one. If I just wanted to lighten my purple, and also if I wanted to make it more blue, then adding some white and a little bit of blue would have helped me to get a purple blue color that will be lighter. If I had just some blue to my purple, now it gets darker and more blue. And if I had some burnt umber, it gets darker, and I can also add some burnt umber and a little bit of red, and therefore my purple will be also darker and go more towards purple red color. So really, when I darken or lighten a color, I always ask myself this question to know how I want my colors to be, as it gets darker or lighter. So we have covered a lot in this video. Now it is time that you put everything into practice. Take these two colors that we have mixed and try to mix them on your palette as well. Then do it with some other colors. And the more you will practice, the more you will feel comfortable with everything that we have seen. And if you want to go even further, you can see on the link in the description that you will have access to all my complete courses. So thank you very much for watching and see you with another video.